world or not. What you doing? I'm getting high, dude. I can rule the world or not. Yo, give me your gun. I can rule the world or not. Still give me your gun. I can run the block, nigga. We gotta live. Give me your gun. I can rule the world or not. Still give me your gun. I can run the block, nigga. We gotta live. You can still get some guns. Go get them so you're ready when I come with them. We gotta live. If you can get a gun, go get a knife. Learn how to fight to preserve your life. We gotta live. They make it clear it's either kill or be killed. It ain't our fault. It just is how it is. We gotta live. Yo. Don't you ever be like, So look, I don't know what just happened. I was like my main man. You know how I feel about my main man behind the board. I don't know what happened. I got a cue that I was on, got a cue I was off, but I was in my my lyrical mode. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say, like, don't you ever be like, damn, I shouldn't have did it. Look at the way I'm living, decisions and consequences. Sinning without repenting. Everybody makes mistakes. And I made some of the biggest, broken some hearts, burned some bridges. It's all familiar. Arguing with mama when I should have shut up and listened. Running the streets instead of chilling with my chillin'. Now how you gonna hit chillin'? You don't even take the time to train, cause they look at you and mimic your ways. You love your girl while you hurt her. You love your dude while you stressing them out. Time's precious, every second counts. We messing around. I done found this mostly for nothing. Internally suffering because I said something. Now me and Pops don't talk. I got an 8 o'clock appearance in court. They took 3 guns, including the one I just bought. I used to hate the world, now I realize it's my fault. Getting caught, going to jail, the bitter divorce. If I had stayed at Mo House, probably wouldn't be playing in your house. The streets turned me out, gave me something to speak about it. Now that I'm free, I can finally see life is only what we created to be. With every breath we breathe, things we say and do, mistakes we make as we go through these trying times of life, hoping just to get it right, cause no one really knows where they gon' go so they can grow. One day you'll see it's really up to you. Alright then, so yeah. I was doing it when y'all went here, and I got a surprise. The mic is open, kind of thing. So I just want to keep doing it because that's how I was feeling. Welcome to the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News Radio. Y'all know what it is. I'm your host, Life Malcolm, and as is my constant custom, I have to give a tremendous shout out and huge expression of appreciation to the In Touch News family. My main man, DJ CEO, doing his thing all the time. We got a show, we got guests and all that. We got a show for you, but we gonna have to lend a few minutes to DJ CEO, what you call it, Capaclave, Cam Claves. So, hey, yo, DJ CEO's in the building. We don't know where he is, but he's in the building somewhere. But always a shout out. We're gonna get him on the microphone to talk about the Kappa, whatever they call it. I'm wearing the colors, but you know, hey, I even got the. I'm not, I'm not what they call it, Noop. Yeah, I'm not Noop, but I'm with the Noops though, like they my brothers, and but yeah, so big shout out to DJ CEO. I know he had a busy weekend, and but he's still out here making it happen for all of us on in the In Touch News Radio family. Big shout out to my sister, Mrs. DJ CEO, aka Tampa Bay Tammy, and shout out to my mystery man behind the board. Nobody knows who he is. Behind the board, making the thing happen, all the programming, making this look good, making me sound good, hopefully. And big thank yous to you for tuning in to the Life Malcolm Show. Whether you're tuning in live or whether you tune in later. And if you are live, in case you don't know, you can check us out, of course, on www.intouchnews.com. And you can check us out on the YouTube channel, the In Touch YouTube channel, and the In Touch Facebook page. Did I get that right? Sometimes I be getting that messed up, like the pages and the channels. And all right, so yeah, www.intouchnews.com. And of course, you can call in anytime you want. 813-444-9588. And yeah, so okay, I think I got all of the official particulars, and I just want to say, man, look, It's been a little while since I've been in the studio with you. We've done a lot of replays. I think we did a replay last week. I'm thinking hope we did a replay the week before that. I was in Vegas and just hanging out. I went out there for a conference and it was hot, y'all. Like it was hot, and my wife and I are in a kind of debate. She's a physician, and so we in a debate because I was at the Kappa thing at Riverfront Park, and it was hot. Thought I was gonna die. I passed out twice on my feet. Like I couldn't go down. My daughter was with me, so I couldn't go down. But I passed out 2 times while I was walking back to the car. It was hot, and I was sweating profusely. And I got home and talking to my wife, and I said, that Vegas heat different because in Vegas you can't sweat, because it's the dry heat. And she like, because she ain't believe what I said. And she like, yeah, you can sweat. And I'm like, go look it up. And so she looked it up. So what happens is you sweat, but the air is so arid that the sweat evaporates very quickly. And so now here we are at this philosophical point, like if a tree falls in the wood, nobody big in the woods, and nobody makes it, and it doesn't make it. Nobody. If the tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, doesn't make a sound, right? So we at this philosophical stage because if you sweat, but it ain't no sweat, do you really sweat? Because I'm like, yo, you're not really sweating. But anyway, Vegas was hot, so yeah, we did a replay last week. But the super cool thing is we're here this week to talk about I want to talk about this beautiful experience I had this weekend. I talked to my sister, Mrs. DJ CEO, and she asked me if I ever thought about pledging, and my answer was stalwart, absolutely not, and that's true. And I would never do that, and never, at least. That's my position on this day. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? When I get ready to be the mayor of Tampa or something, I might have to pledge something. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, at this point, it's like, nah, just absolutely not. Because, anyway. And so, listen, I wore the same shirt to the park because it's the shirt right here. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. That's the campaign. Free to Uhuru 3. That's the campaign. So I represent that. So I wore this shirt, right? And so these Kappa colors, right? Kappa is a fraternity for anybody listening who might not know. And I don't know who you are, where you from, what planet, but in case you don't know, like Kappa Alpha.
Kappa Alpha Psi.
Kappa Alpha Psi. That's a fraternity, and these the colors, right? And so I just went out there just to hang with the Africans at the park. And wearing this shirt might not have been well, let me say what happened. Being in the park, right? With this shirt on, all the Kappas, the brothers, all the players, they come up to me like, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not actually true. What happened first, my first experience was I saw them going up to each other. They're like, 1986, front line, 4 to the back, 67, 45 to the west, 86, 95, Campus 5.
Come on,
I'm like,
man.
all right. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, then I ain't know what that was about. I thought that was a special engagement. And then they saw my shirt. They like, what up, Noop? I'm like, no. But before I could say I wasn't Noop, they like, 45, 65 to the left, Campus 1977. I'm like, oh, whoa. And I have a hard enough time remembering your name. They don't be like DJ CEO. Like, okay, all right, that's good. Right? DJ CEO, 75 to the left, east, west, to the ninth, 45 degrees. Walk through the fire with my hat on backwards. I'm like, But it was a really good time seeing all the. It's like that. It's like that.
Not quite, but close.
Oh, yeah. I don't have the lingo. I didn't do it. So yeah, they be like, no, 35. I mean, they have a whole. I'm like, how I'm gonna remember? Why are you telling me all this? Because I'm not gonna remember all of this. I'm just trying to remember your name. To the back, 45, 67, one handshake to the. Yeah. But it was cool though, just seeing everybody enjoying themselves. Big shout out to my man DJ Zay. DJ Zay used to DJ at my spoken word event, Straight Up Poetry. We were actually classmates at USF, and but he wasn't Noop then, but he Noop now, and so y'all the frats showing them love, putting them on big stages. So it was just a real good time, good experience, man. Just really had a delightful time, man, just kicking it with them Africans. And even though I won Noop.
Over 17,000.
Wow. In the city? Or at the park?
In the city. We had about 5,000 at the park.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, if it was 17,000 at the park, no wonder it was so hot. You know how, they say we draw heat. But, yeah, it was just a really good time, man. Just a lot of love. And so, yeah. That I just wanted to say that, cause.
Let me just say that we started out our week with a check to the $80,000 check we gave to the Skills Center, which is over on 22nd Street.
Who is we now?
The Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity
right,
Incorporated.
People might think In Touch News is.
No, I would be. Well,
or the Life Malcolm show. They might.
Yeah. Let me clarify.
Yeah, please. Thank you, sir.
The national organization, the International Organization of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, gave the Skills Center, which is a nonprofit, we gave them $80,000 on Saturday, and then we progressed into the week with our business meetings. We had, like I said, about 17,000 brothers here. I'd say more closer to 20,000. But the Tampa alumni chapter was the host of this national convention. The first time it's ever been to the city of Tampa. The city of Tampa was very good, and we would just wanted to thank all of our sponsors for doing a fantastic job, and all of our fraternity brothers, and just the city of Tampa coming out and enjoying a lot of the festivities that we put on. It was quite a show, and just every reason for me to be proud, but actually for the city of Tampa to be proud as well. We brought in about $25 million in economic impact to the city. And just as an addition, following this, next week, in the next couple of weeks, you have the Black Shriners, which is going to bring about 10,000 brothers here, and they'll have a big economic impact on the city as well.
Yeah. Somebody hit me up the other day, told me the Shriners were coming, and asked me if I knew about it. Is that like an older group of? I'm not really sure about this. I remember the Shriners from they used to help sick children or something like that. The Shriners Hospital.
So you become a Shriner by first becoming a Mason. You've heard of the Masonic Order.
Of course.
Yeah, brick Masons.
Of course.
So that's how it starts.
No, that's different. No, I'm a brick Mason, but the handshaking Mason is different than the brick Mason.
It is, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, right on. I can lay a brick. All right. So listen, I told you y'all was gonna hear from Mr. DJ CEO. Y'all can't see him. He's back there with the mystery man. Y'all can't see him, but I told y'all was gonna hear from him, and appreciate you, Mr. DJ CEO, for letting us know, about the powerful impact that the Kappas brought to the city of Tampa this year. Listen, y'all, this is the Life Malcolm Show, and as usual, we have a great show in store for you. We have guests right now. I am about to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to introduce my guest to you, and we going to talk about, how we do. It's always political, so we going to get into some political, a little bit of personal, but you're going to have the opportunity to hear from somebody other than me tonight, and that's good. That's definitely a good thing. So I think it's a good time to take a break. We're going to holler at you on the other side. We'll be right back. It's Life Malcolm Show, y'all. Thanks so much.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Tell a friend to listen in. It's In Touch Radio, reality radio.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
And your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show. I really appreciate you staying tuned in right here on In Touch News Radio, where everybody is a star, and the biggest star is you. Like I told you, we got guests in the building tonight, and so I'm gonna do it like this. I think usually I introduce the guest that is the guest first, but now I'm gonna introduce. Not really introduced, but just tell y'all Alvaro here. That's what I'm gonna tell y'all. Alvaro's here again, and we really appreciate Alvaro Montealegre for being in the building with us tonight. And he brought along with him our special guest, Miss Sarah McNamara. But what I want to do is give Alvaro an opportunity to say something if you want to say something, because this is the Sarah show, so we're gonna let her talk all she want to talk. But I definitely want you to say, hello to the audience. The In Touch News Radio Life Malcolm Show audience knows who you are by now. So, say hello to the family. Tell them say what you want to say to them.
Thank you, Life. Thank you, In Touch News, for inviting me one more time to come over, and for opening up the space for someone as special as Sarah McNamara to make a presentation. She has a wonderful presentation. She has spoken several times within the past couple of months, including Full House just last week at the Bricks. It was a Tampa sponsored event, and about 130 people I counted there.
Nice.
So and she has a great theme, great excellent information, and very timely. How Latinos, especially women, fought fascism in the 30s. So, and a history of Ybor City and Tampa. So, let me not talk too much. She's the star of the show.
Well, Alvaro, I just
and you guys do a wonderful job.
I just want to say, Alvaro, I appreciate you introducing the In Touch News radio audience, and especially the Life Malcolm Show audience on In Touch News Radio, to the guests that you've brought through, including Miss Sarah McNamara. And now, Sarah, it's all you. So thank you so much for being here, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad that our schedule's finally lined
I
up.
know, right?
I know.
Because you in the Midwest.
Well, I'm
sometimes,
in Southwest.
yeah.
I'm in Texas.
They call that Southwest?
I think so.
That-
I mean, I'm not from Texas.
I'm
When my
not-
students tell
I'm
me
not
where they're from, I have to look
geographically-
it up.
I'm not geographically astute. Matter of fact, I get lost if I go over there by Channel Side. Like, I'm from the hood, so when I go over there with them people that Channel Side, New Tampa, South Tampa, it may as well be Texas. So
Well, Channel Side's confusing, and it doesn't look anything like what it used to look like.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the amount of time I spent in Tampa, I was driving through downtown, and I felt like I had no idea where I was all of a sudden when I ran around the corner.
So you spend most of your time where these days?
I'm a professor. I work at Texas A&M in
What do you
College
teach?
Station. I'm a historian, so
Okay.
I teach Latinx, immigration, women and gender, courses on feminism, one class called Feminisms of Color, and then general U.S. surveys.
how'd you
But
get
I'm a
into that?
researcher. I've always loved history.
Okay.
I've always loved history, but I did my undergrad at Florida, and I majored in history and Spanish language and linguistics, and then I decided I loved it so much I wanted to get a PhD, so I did. And I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and that was where I was trained, wrote my dissertation that revised and became the book that we'll talk about today. It's called Ybor City, Crucible de Latina South.
Where did you graduate high school?
Hillsborough.
Oh, so from Tampa? Like
I'm
you
from,
graduated?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Alright,
legit from
like
Tampa.
just give us a little bit of that biographical background.
Yeah, no, I walked in the door and I looked. It's very hard for me to call you Daryl because I remembered you as Mr. Johnson.
DJ, cut the music.
Oh my God.
When you walked in and said, I was like, that is Tamina's
Oh, that's
dad.
right. No, I already told y'all he was in there. Okay, all right. I already told y'all he was here.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
so
all right.
sorry.
No, because he don't always want to. DJ CEO don't always want to be known that he in the building. So I just.
Can
But
you
no, it's
bleep
okay.
me
I
out?
already told y'all he was here. I already told y'all, so it's
We're
okay.
just kidding.
Yeah, I already told y'all it's okay. So okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in. He's in.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
But yeah, so I'm from Tampa. My family's from Tampa. I was born in Tampa.
No, but no, you got to finish
Yeah.
that story. It's
Yeah,
hard to
that
call
whole story.
him.
No,
Yeah.
I walked in and he just said, "Hi, I'm Daryl," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Mr. Johnson. That is Tamina's dad."
Wow.
And I.
She went to school with my daughter.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. Yeah.
High school?
Tamina. Yeah.
Okay.
Tamina was 1 year ahead of me, I think. So I knew her
Okay.
for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, born and raised here?
And also your younger daughter, but we didn't overlap as much.
Kendall.
Kendall. Yep. Yes. Yes. And
So, you're born and raised here?
born and raised in
Okay,
Tampa.
all right.
Yeah. Born and raised in Tampa.
So, graduated Hillsborough.
Graduated.
What
I
was
went to
next?
UF for undergrad,
Okay.
and then I went to UNC Chapel Hill for
So,
my PhD.
how'd you get to Texas then?
So academia is one of those jobs where you don't have a lot of control over where you live.
Okay.
It's I don't know how deep into it you want. You let me know when I bore you.
Yeah.
So if you've ever wondered why professors are from all over the place and they're working at universities, it's because there's annually like this national search. So every university will list the jobs that it has and that it's willing to hire once a year.
Okay.
And hundreds of people will apply for that one job.
Okay.
And then it whittles down to the final one. And the whole process takes 12 months. So they'll only hire your specialty. So nobody will just hire a historian. They
Okay.
have to hire a historian who does Latinx history in the 20th century in a particular field.
Okay.
And so that's how they're hiring not just a person to teach a class, they're hiring a researcher for a specialty.
You mentioned languages a bit ago. How many languages do you speak?
Just two, and then I read Latin.
Okay.
So I don't know if
Which
that really
two?
counts. English and Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you speak Spanish?
Well, I did not learn from my family, ironically enough. So my family, we were talking about this when I came in.
Right.
My family is, on my mom's side, is Cuban American. They're from Ybor City. They came over here around the turn of the century, and they worked in the Cuban cigar factories. And
Wait, hold on. Wait, your mother came here?
No.
Okay,
My mom's family.
Okay, all right.
My mom's
I was
family.
gonna say, goodness.
No. My great-great-grandmother.
Gotcha. All right.
Her name is Amelia Alvarez.
Okay.
And she was the first person to come over and work
Okay.
in the cigar factories. But my family's from Ybor. So my mom is the first group to not be taught English at home. And
To not be taught English at home?
yeah. Oh, not Spanish. Spanish. Not to be taught. Thanks, Alvaro. Not to be taught Spanish at home. So I didn't grow up speaking it, but both me and my sister speak from classes and from learning and through our research and.
I'm from Ybor City, like the real Ybor City, not like the 7th Avenue strip that they call Ybor City now. Like you mean the real Ybor City, right? Like where the Cuban cigar factories were.
When they were happening.
Right.
Yeah.
The Cuban bread. I mean, my mother still lives on Ybor Street. That's like she brought
Yep.
me home 48 years ago to the same house she lives in today on Ybor Street. So like I remember Ybor City and Cubans and Cuban bread, Cuban coffee, Cuban cigars. I mean, just
Exactly.
the smell when you walked out of the house, right? So you remember? So like when people these days, I think when they hear Ybor City, they
think party.
Right. You know, they like that thing that they've characterized these days, or I should say, what's the thing? What do you call it? Caricature.
A caricature. Yeah.
The thing that they caricature as Ybor City.
Yeah.
But
no.
So you're people from Ybor City.
Yeah,
for
like
real,
they're for real from Ybor City.
Right.
And that was one of the things that I think connected Alvaro and I, is that the book ended up being very timely in a way that I didn't anticipate that it would be. Okay. Ybor City and the city of Tampa is going through massive changes right now. And a lot of that change includes high levels of gentrification and redefining different areas of the city that are remaking community connections, what places once were, what makes Tampa Tampa, and what makes people people, which in so many ways is a connection to place.
How much does your Florida background or Ybor City background play into your the things that you teach your students? Like, does it play into it in any way? Like, especially when you do what you call it,
Latinx.
How do you, what is that you say?
Latinx.
Latinx or Latinx?
Latinx. So do you want to no.
Latinx.
So there's different ways that you can say, and there's no right or wrong way. Is what I always tell people. Right. So Latina and Latino are the typical terminologies, right? If you were asking, my mom, saying something like Latinx wouldn't necessarily have a meaning to her.
I get it now.
But Latinx is a gender-neutral term that emerged through activists.
Latinx.
Yeah, it emerged through activists at the turn of, in the early 2000s is where the word emerged. Now, you said it's political, so I can just say it, right? Conservatives find it very reactionary because they don't like anything that is gender neutral. Yeah. So, in Arkansas, they legislated not being able to use the term Latinx.
Really?
Yes, but, so.
What?
Yeah, that was that was the first piece of the first action. Yeah, that was put into effect. I don't know that I know of.
This is the party that doesn't like government intrusion into your life, right?
Yeah, but don't use the word Latinx. So the newest word on the block is Latine. So Latine ends with an E. Okay. Same meaning as Latinx, also gender neutral. The argument for it is that it naturally exists within the Spanish language, that the E is the A is a gender neutral sound.
Wow.
But so.
Wow.
I haven't quite adapted yet, so I'm still saying Latinx. But, you just say whatever comes out of your mouth, and everybody, just like when somebody tells you their pronouns, and just like, it takes such little effort to allow somebody else to feel respected and seen, and that's what I tell my students. I'm like, if somebody doesn't want to be called that, don't call them that.
I know what you mean. Yeah. At the same time, if somebody wants to be called something,
then do it. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So from Hillsborough to UF to
University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, it's not UNC.
UNC.
Okay, so UNC, and then you get hired because of your special qualifications. you checked all the boxes off, right?
Yep. Texas A&M was hiring a Latinx historian, so I got hired in that position, and I've been there since I finished my PhD.
How long ago was that?
In 2016. So,
so you've been at it for a while now.
I've been at it for a while,
All right. Yeah. And so you wrote a book that we're going to talk about for, I guess, most of the rest of the show. 2016, you're there. When do you get this book idea? Like, how does this? So before 2016, after?
Oh, way before. Right,
So, like, I think we're going to have to take a break soon, but we have a couple of minutes before we take a break. So I do want to talk about that. So where did this, how long have you known you wanted to write a book, I guess? Like, where did that start?
So, like, getting there is a little bit different for somebody who's a scholar, right? Like, I can tell every time I sit down with a TV reporter when I'm here, they want me to tell them this story that, I was hanging out with my grandmother and, like, having café con leche, and I just had this idea that I wanted to write this book. Yeah. And that would make for such a great TV bit. But that's not exactly how that works, right? So a scholarly book is like a study of a group of people. Right. And you go more into it saying, I really want to understand this thing. Okay. And for me, I grew up with the stories that my grandmother told me that really, to be honest, none of which I thought were very special. I didn't think that being from Ybor City or the story of Ybor City was something that was outstanding, because to me it just was.
Right, yeah.
When we talk about, the politics and things that are happening in education, and the things that make especially conservative politicians so nervous are that the ability to think critically about yourself, about where you come from, about history and about legacies, it really can change a person, it can change a place, and once you can do that, it's something that nobody can take away.
Yeah.
And like when I was in undergrad, I loved early American history and the history of Native Americans. I have a certificate in Indigenous history, which I've never used, right? I didn't end up studying that period of time. I studied like now, the 20th and 21st century, and I do Latinx history, something totally different than what I thought. But I was in this class and I wrote a proposal for a paper and I got a C, which that did not happen. And I was just like, what's happening here? And I went in and talked, and this professor started asking me questions. And he asked things that I grew up doing, and as I started listing them, at one point I said that my family went to May Day and Labor Day celebrations in Ybor, and I described what that was like. And he's like, that's a celebration of the Communist Party. And I was just like,
yay.
What? I didn't know what that meant. And from there, my senior thesis emerged, which was about Ybor, and then I started to think about it even more critically. And if we need to take a break, we can do it.
We're going to take the break right now, because so now we know, all right, so the break, the book starts right around the time you begin to develop your senior thesis, like the idea. Right,
emerges,
that's what I'm saying. So we're talking like, what year is this?
Oh God, when did I finish undergrad? Like 2009?
Okay.
A long time ago.
Okay. All right. So Life Malcolm Show. This is I'm your host, Life Malcolm, and we have Sarah McNamara right here, along with my man Alvaro Montealegre, and I'm your host, of course, Life Malcolm. We'll be right back.
So believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky, is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
Hi, I'm Angela Birdsong, and during the week, they call me the Medicare Lady. I help people successfully transition onto Medicare, sometimes Medicaid. I also help people with life insurance, long-term care insurance, and annuities. Please do not try to navigate Medicare without me. It's complicated. 813-476-4837.
Stress off, and I scare off fair weather friends. I'm a hurricane, so I prefer the pain to the pleasure. And I must be crazy because I still keep getting on stages, hoping that somebody's gonna appreciate the message enough to give the messenger a piece of change in exchange for the piece of himself he just gave. I'm sure I could, but I don't wanna be no rapper. I'd rather see you shaking your head than see you shaking your laffy taffy. Won't tell you no jokes because I'd rather have you feeling than have you laughing at me. Somebody asked me to show him a poem that ever saved a life, so I gave him a picture of me. Told him if it wasn't for these poems, I'd be 6 feet deep. Told him if if I didn't sell CDs, my little children wouldn't eat, and I'd like to see them full. I'd like to see how good you are as a poet, man. Forget awards and slams. Quit your job and risk starving in the genre with one night a week artists flood your market with a bunch of garbage CDs. But I guarantee I got what you need. I'm relentless. Hey, yo, welcome back to the Life of Malcolm show. Right here. Oh, the mic live now? We live? Welcome back to the Life of Malcolm show. Hey, we going to get it together. We going to know what we're doing. Welcome back to the Life of Malcolm show right here on In Touch News Radio. I told you, got my main man, Alvaro Montelegre, in the building. But the star of today's show is Sarah McNamara. She has a book out. She's going to tell us, if you missed this before the break, Sarah was telling us that, Sarah told us that, like, the idea for the book came about before, the whole, came about, 2009, before the graduate program. So this is, this idea, and it's important to me because I've been writing for a long time, and writers listen.
It takes a long time, and I think
ideas to germinate.
And to understand things. And to me, one of the hardest things, the process of writing the book is thinking of it not as a book.
Yeah.
So thinking of it as paragraph by paragraph. Or one of the people I work with, when I was just like, I was telling her, I was like, I feel paralyzed. I don't know how I'm ever going to get this done. And she was like, bird by bird, Sarah. She's like, just make a list. And I started doing that. And that was when I started writing at such a quick clip and the way that I wanted the book to be written.
Okay.
And I would quite literally have like a list of everything that every paragraph needed. And I would get to the bottom of that list. And then the next paragraph would begin. But
so how
it takes a long time.
How did it go from thought undergrad thoughts, even thesis thoughts to
I would die if I ever had to reread that.
But how did it go to I'm gonna make it a book? What prompted that?
So it is a requirement for my job. There's that factor.
Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
So I'm a professor, so I have to publish at a specific increment. And since I'm a historian, I'm in what's called a book-based discipline.
Okay.
So I'm expected to write books on a certain interval.
Okay.
Most historians, if you're a really active researcher, you'll write a book, or like professor historians, right? You'll write a book every about 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
Is what it takes to do, and that's from, you're not writing the whole time. That's from figuring out the idea, to researching, to writing the fellowships, writing the grants, getting them going and doing the research, figuring out the book, getting the contract, working with the editor, writing the book, finishing the book, production, and then out.
Okay.
So there's a lot of steps in between there.
So
you're not just sitting at the desk for 10 years.
Yeah. So I understand in your particular discipline, like the book is a requirement.
The book's a requirement.
All professors don't have to write books, though, right?
No, but if you're in the humanities, they will,
Okay.
right? So English, many anthropologists do, many sociologists do.
Okay. Poli-sci?
Historians, some poli-sci do, many do. But poli-sci, sociology, and anthropology and archaeology, they can either do books or they can write lots of articles.
I'm familiar
you can
with
do
that.
either version.
Yeah,
so those are social sciences.
Yeah,
so
okay.
you can see professors taking either route. Right, when I walked in, we were talking about now that I'm not revealing more about behind the desk, we were talking about other people who we know, and there was one person I was speaking about who's a sociologist, right, and she writes books.
Okay.
But she could, in her, I'm assuming, I don't know the politics of her department, could make the decision to, instead of writing one book, could write like 10 articles.
But that's not an option for you. You have to write a book.
No, historians write books.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so I do also write articles, but
Okay.
you have to write a book.
All right.
I think they used to call it years back. They used to say
Publish or perish.
Publish or perish.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but still
For
works.
professors, there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can lose your job if you're not publishing at a particular rate.
And does the book get published just because you write it, or does it have to meet a certain kind of criteria?
So when a scholar or a professor writes a book, it goes through a bit of a different process.
Okay.
So say that you're like, I'm going to be a writer and I'm going to get a contract. You can totally do that. You can contact a popular press. They'll typically give you an advance. That advance acts as your salary for perhaps a year. you write the book, and then you submit it to the press. That is if you're not an academic.
Okay.
So if you are a professor or a scholar, it goes through a bit of a different process. Okay. Where you're like, I'm going to write this. So then you contact you can either work with some people work with a popular press who has an understanding of scholars, or you can work with an academic press. And you propose the idea, they oftentimes give you an advance contract, you then write the manuscript, you submit it to them. They then send it out to 2 to 3 other scholars who are connected to your field. They read the book, they check all your sources, your interpretation, your knowledge of other history surrounding it to make sure that you know what you're talking about. Then they send it back to you with comments. You have to adjust the manuscript to respond to those comments. It's called peer review. After you revise it, you then submit it again, and then it goes through that peer review process again. They send it out to those same readers. They then read it, give final feedback, and you write what's called a reader report. So you finish adjusting the manuscript, you submit it to the press, you say, this is where I'm at, I'm not making any more changes. The editorial board then makes the okay or the not okay, and they can tell you that you have to address certain things from the readers that you either chose not to, or any final shifts, and then it enters approval and the production process.
But if you
begins.
decide as a professor you're going to write a book, it's pretty much coming out after the process?
No, it can get rejected.
Okay.
Yeah, it can get rejected.
Okay.
It can definitely. So if
So
you're,
you made it.
Yeah, I made it.
Yeah, the book,
I made it.
Well, your book, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I made it through.
So
Yeah.
your book made it, right.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I made it through.
So tell us about the book.
So the book is called Ybor City, and like we were talking about, right? It began with a lot of people ask questions about themselves, right? Like right now I'm doing this undergraduate workshop for a bunch of young women who want to experiment with doing scholarship themselves. And the name of the seminar is called The Historical is Personal, because I really believe that by looking at yourself and your relationship to the world around you, that you have the ability to understand yourself so much differently, and also think of who are you, or who is your community, or what individual experiences have you had that make up the world around us and why we are the way we are. And when I started this book, the thing that really drew me to it is what Alvaro was explaining, like the stories of anti-fascism. So by the time I got to grad school, the stories that really inspired me were the stories of like leftist radical organizing. And I knew that my family was a part of that, because that's one thing that makes the community in Ybor City and in Tampa super different than the post-Castro generation, the majority of whom went to Miami. And one of the arguments I make in the book is that this political difference has a long-standing effect on the politics of the city of Miami and the electoral politics in Tampa.
Okay.
That you have a multiracial group of people who are more progressive in Tampa as a result of the historical background behind it, but everybody has a different reason why they're drawn to that politic. And that's one of the things I write about that in the book, because there was this image that my grandmother showed me. It was in the Tampa Bay Times back in like 1991. And she had this binder that she kept because she was from Ybor and she worked at the Ybor City Museum. She was a docent. Like, she was the woman in our lives that kept everything alive.
Okay.
We did Noche Buena at, Christmas time. I grew up learning how to make the pork, like the picadillo, like the foodways that were a part of who we were. And she was so central to that. And so I remember, and I write about this in the book, that she calls me over to her kitchen table one day and she pulls out this clipping, and it is a photograph, and you can see thousands of women who are protesting from Ybor City, and they end up stopping in the front steps of City Hall. And as she's sitting there showing me this picture, she draws arrows to the women in our family.
Oh, wow.
And who in our family was in this
picture?
photo? Yeah,
wow.
Was in this photo in 1937.
Wow.
And my grandmother, right, she came of age during World War II. So her life was super different from the women in that picture, right? Ybor City, that was the place where cigars were made, where people were coming because they supported Cuban independence, they were leftists, they were radicals, they gave one day of a week's pay, even though they were poor as hell, to support the revolution abroad. But by the time they became a part of, right, the Socialist Party, the Communist Party, they were anarchists at different times, and they were really powerful political agents in Tampa, because if they didn't work, the city quite literally didn't function.
So, are these people with those socialist, communist ideas central figures in the book?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're gonna take this break, and then we're gonna talk about because this is our last break of the show.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that people know how they can get the book.
Yeah,
But I
we'll do
also
that.
I want you to let people know like who's in the book. It sounds kind of biographical. Some
There's different portions, yeah.
And so like let people know why they should read the book. You know where they'll find the communists, the socialists,
We'll talk
the
about it,
family
yeah.
background, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So I want to do that when we get back. Can we
We'll
do
do
that?
it. We'll do it.
All right, good.
We'll do
All right,
it.
this is the Life Malcolm Show, y'all. Right here with Sarah McNamara, my main man, Alberto Montiel-Legade, and the mystery man behind the board.
Am I too long?
No.
Okay. No, I'm not. Okay.
Hey, this Angel Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great
Plug
barbecue?
the
Come
product.
see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia.
I'm
We
such
got
a
ribs,
professor. I
chicken,
just
pork,
get on
pork,
the stage and start
brisket,
talking.
collard
I'm really bad at
greens, mac
talking.
and cheese, baby. Come
Yeah.
get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Before we, not after the first event.
Yeah.
And it's just open to anything and everything, and it didn't matter. So, Mike says, well, do it if you care, if you don't think the audience is important. Yeah, the audience
So when you write your book, is it for reading enjoyment, or is it to teaching classes?
It is. So it would be more for like inspiration and also for like anybody interested in history. It's written as what's called a crossover, which means that you need the expectations of being following, but it's supposed to be known as being average
It's not the boring part.
That's where the human aspect comes in.
Yeah, so there's characters in a way that I didn't necessarily have to do that.
Okay.
Like, I really but I cared about, I wanted to write a book about it.
Yeah, but with the character, it draws you in.
It does.
All right,
yeah.
we're back, y'all.
Okay.
Hey, yo. Why not? Why not? I've been doing it all this time, so I may as well go ahead and bust another rhyme. But I'm not. Gotcha. Hey, no, because I want to make sure that Miss Sarah McNamara gets all the time we have left. So, and I apologize for rhyming so much. Man, I got to get my mystery man. See, that's what happens when we take weeks off.
Wonderful rhymes.
My mystery man just, we got to get our signals together. But yeah, so Sarah, now we're Ybor City. Okay, now Ybor City, communist, socialist. These things are going on, and you want to write about it. You put a book together that went through this amazing process. It's like vetted. It's all this.
It's very vetted, yeah.
And from what I hear, it's like the number one selling book in Tampa, or the top, or somewhere in
it
the top,
is.
or something like that.
It is.
So so what is in this book that's making people buy this book?
I think especially right now, it's answering questions like, why is Florida the way it is?
Okay. So talk about that. What in the book tells us why Tampa is the way it is?
So in the book, right, one of the arguments that I'm making is, right, if we even look at the political map right now, Tampa, although, right, we can say, like, very much in the middle, Democrat-wise, but it is one of the few cities that's holding on in a way that others haven't. Holding on to its blue status, holding on to remaining a Democratic city. And you're just like, why? Why has Tampa managed to do this when other major cities haven't? And I'm saying that the long-standing history that's here of there being multiracial groups that are progressive, but as I said, for different reasons. because that's one of the things I write about in the book, is that we oftentimes think of leftist politics or progressive politics as people coming together for unity, kind of like the way that we want it to happen, which was like when I came to the book and I saw those pictures of anti-fascist organizing, I wanted to find these just badass stories of these Latinas who just like fought tooth and nail forever and everybody inherited it. But the more that I learned and the more that I questioned, the more that I read, the more sources that I found, the more that I learned what it meant to be in the community is that it was different for everybody. And that the longer, one thing that was notable is the longer that people were there, the less, the longer that people were in Tampa.
Okay.
So living in what at the time was a Jim Crow city.
Okay.
The longer that they had to figure out how to live here, the more that concepts and ideas of anti-blackness became a part of the community. So if you look at organizing, like even pictures around like the 1880s, you're gonna see Afro-Cubans and light-skinned Cubans like working together. If you look at the anti-fascist organizing picture that I talk about, you're going to see mostly light-skinned Cubans who are working together.
And this is in the 30s, you said 37?
This is in the 30s, right? So over a 40-year period of time, there's a shift. And it shifts in many ways, down to like, we think of the Cuban Club, right, down in Ybor City. But there's also La Sociedad Martí Maceo, right, that is the Afro-Cuban Club. And it didn't begin with two separate clubs, it began with one. And it was forcibly segregated, according to light-skinned Cubans, because they had to, according to the city of Tampa. But Afro-Cubans tell a different story.
Whoa, let me stop you.
Yeah.
They had to, according to the city of Tampa, you saying the city
Jim
of
Crow
Tampa
law, segregated law.
Wow.
Yeah, so that Jim Crow law legislated that public spaces, according to the color of your skin, had to be segregated.
And Tampa had that.
And Tampa had that. Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's in the book.
Oh yeah.
So
and
I need that book.
The first.
I know what you've been up to, dang. Never mind.
You'll get it for free. I'll be like, Peter, you need to send some books down here. No, the entire first section of the book is basically like, we imagine Florida as this place that began as a vacation spot or something that's tropical, or a state that's in the South but not of the South, as though it's precluded from histories of slavery and Jim Crowism, and it's not. It's very much built on those things. So when you look around and you see things that are happening now, it's very much like this is what Florida is, not that this is exceptional. It's more like going back to its roots rather than reinventing something new. So the question becomes, how do people resist or how do they fight those things? And so it's part of the book, and part of the things that I'm getting at is I celebrate many things, right? That anti-fascist story, there's now a marker and a mural on 7th Avenue. It's located at 2015 East 7th Avenue that tells the story of that. It's the first project like that in the city of Tampa. So there's
beautiful
a mural.
mural.
Yeah, one of my aunts is in the mural. But
really?
yeah, it was done by a Cuban American artist. I wanted it to be really intentional. That's asking us to think about anti-fascism, especially at a time when it can get a bad name, but that it's a good thing, especially when you see the rise of very repressive politics emerging.
So, can I jump in?
Yeah.
So a couple of things that I find interesting, at least I want to talk about a little bit while we have some time, is one, you said in the 1880s, right, there was this, I guess this appearance or this blend of African-looking Cubans and Cubans who
lighter skin. Yeah.
And so, like in the you know what happened in 1884, 85, right?
Yes. Yep.
What
are you talking about? Rosewood?
No,
Rosewood?
no, I don't know.
Are you talking
I
about
think that was
massacres?
later. No, I'm talking about the Berlin Conference.
Okay.
Right, which was the whole conference to divide Africa, which was which kind of ushered in the idea of modern colonialism. You know what I mean? Like, they carved up Africa, and so I wonder if the relationship between the colonial powers in Africa and Europe, that particular aggressive dominance worldwide, forced that kind of thing at the same time here in the States. I don't know if your research answers that question. If not, I understand. But like when you say 1880s, you see it's all together, and then after, because 1884, 85, this whole colonial thing happened. They redivide Africa. So I was I didn't realize that this segregation thing happened.
So it wasn't U.S. based. So so one thing about the Cuban population in Tampa is that it was multiracial. So Afro-Cubans and light-skinned Cubans came to Tampa.
Right.
Whereas those who come to Miami in post 59 are predominantly white Cubans.
But I'm talking about this 1880s thing, right? So this
they're just showing up in 1880.
Right, but I'm saying, but it's like light skin and dark skin.
But it's not African Americans. Those who are living in Ybor City are not uniting with African Americans broadly.
Okay.
In the city. So Afro-Cubans would have defined themselves as culturally different.
Okay.
At the same time.
Okay.
Does that?
It makes sense to me. But they're still Africans. And so, but then what happens is this Berlin Conference where these colonial powers say that you ain't African no more, now you are Cameroon. You're not African no more, now you're a Nigerian. You're not African no more, now you're this.
So those in Ybor would have said, what you're talking about right there, ethnicity, they would have said, I'm Cuban. So at the same time as happening the Cuban independence movements.
Right.
And one of the things that's central to that is that Jose Marti, right? Right. One of his things is that racism no longer exists in Cuba, which is kind of like a really lazy thing to do in the midst of the last Spanish colony that was getting rid of slavery.
Right.
Right, so, because that's obviously not true, right? Race definitely had a stronghold in Cuba and had meaning, but you couldn't have a revolution if everybody was divided on these different. So he says this broadly. It becomes a big part of the myth of Jose Marti.
Does the book talk a lot about Jose Marti?
I mentioned him a few times, but I don't. There is a great book by Lilian Guerra called The Myth of Jose Marti, and she talks about like all these complicated things about him. So I engage her work when I talk about him. Because I very much agree with the way that she talked about it. Down to 4 minutes.
So as I said,
I said it out loud.
Okay. No, it's good. It's good.
It's good. It's all right.
We're all
reminded. It's the Jared McMahon show. So I said I had two things to talk about.
So when you're talking about that history,
so one was that that idea of like whether you thought there was some, or whether you saw some connection between the 1884, 1885 Berlin
in my
Conference
research, no.
I mean, just even in your being, around, not necessarily research for the book. I just wanted a few. But my second thing is, you mentioned fascism a few times. Does your book define fascism?
It does.
So how does the book define fascism?
Right. So one of the things that I write in the book is that one of the hardest things about fascism is defining it, and it's that so many people have different definitions, and that more than the classic definitions of fascism are things like regimes like Nazi Germany and Italy's Mussolini, right? Like those are the most concrete examples of fascism. But there's different characteristics where you can see, and there's different environments where it emerges. So fascism generally emerges with a strongman leader who is charismatic, who rises to power in the midst of some sort of economic decline where it is utilitarian and he is able to say the reason that your life is awful is because of all of these other people, generally.
I want to push back just a little bit.
Yeah.
We only, like, as you pointed out, we only have,
So
I want to push back. So I'm a member of the African People's Socialist Party.
Yeah.
Chairman Omali Yeshitela is my leader, the leader of the African International Revolution. You familiar with Chairman Omali by any chance?
I am not.
All right, so Chairman Omali Yeshitela helps us understand that the reason why the world is the way it is right now is based on the colonial mode of production, because every society has a mode of production. And this society at this current time operates under the colonial mode of production, and he says that all of the ills that we observe in society are products, consequences of colonialism. And Chairman would argue that fascism is what white people call colonialism when it happens, when white people do it to white people. Like when it's because while you mentioned Italy and they talk about fascism in France, but at the same time they were arguing about fascism in France. France was doing horrible things to African people in Algeria. You understand? And so so I just want to see like what you say in response to that, because the chairman would argue, and I agree because I'm used to tell us that colonialism is the issue, and if we get rid of colonialism, we get rid of fascism too, because it's that oppression. Because we don't want to see anybody oppress anybody, but Hitler people are mad with Hitler because of what he did to white people. Hitler, people are mad with Mussolini because what he did to white people. But when white people were doing the same things to African people, nobody cared. And so fascism seems to be white people hurt white people, and we should all care about that. But colonialism is hurting all of us.
Yeah.
And so I just want to know your thoughts about that perspective.
No, colonialism is definitely hurting everybody, right? That is one of the things that underlines everything, right? If you're looking at the way that Cuba operated, Cuba in the period that I'm writing about it was initially a colony, right? It's in the process of liberating itself from a colony, but it's also a colony that then emerges with enslaved people. Right? You move into the United States, right? So many different levels of colonialism that make it function. When we're looking at or talking to, I laughed as you're describing, I'm like, yeah, I mean, you can understand fascism in that way if you want to, right? Yeah. Happening in one form. But it is also, all of us, if you are living in these different spaces, right, what is going to dismantle it? Is it going to be, right, a collective mobilization, which would be ideal? Right, they do that in many ways in the book. I write about it through unionism.
All right,
through
I'm gonna stop you right there.
But yeah,
we got to go.
No, we're done.
Listen, we're not going right now. But I want to say the way to destroy fascism is to destroy colonialism. And tell us how we can get the book, because that's gonna help us destroy them both. So tell us how to get the book.
The book is available pretty much anywhere.
Right.
It's available on Amazon. It's available locally at Tombolo, at Oxford Exchange, at the Tampa Bay History Center. It's about to end up at the Ybor, anywhere that you can buy a book in Tampa. You can.
Are you
find
available
it
for bookings or things
I
like that?
am. I'm
you have
doing
contact information like Twitter or anything.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Sarah Mack. Is where I am, SARAHMAC. I am going to be at the Tampa History Center on September 20th, Tombolo Books on September 15th, Cafe Con Tampa on September 15th. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm about to find out.
Okay.
And I think that's all I'm...
The name of the book again.
Oh, Ybor City, Crucible de Latina South.
Do you use the book to teach? Or is that one of the teaching tools you use?
I haven't used the book in class. And my general perspective is when I'm teaching that students hear me all the time. So they don't necessarily need to read me. They can read other people. They can learn about other perspectives. Yeah. If I'm up there and I'm lecturing and I'm talking, they're hearing from me all the time.
All right, that's the music.
Yeah.
All right, yo, I just want to say I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.
Sarah McNamara. I'm got to remember to say doctor. And thank you so much, General Alvaro Montealegre and Captain Mystery Man behind the board. Appreciate you. Hey, y'all, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is the Life Now for Show. We'll see you on the next show. We continue, y'all.